Word from our sponsors. Looking for a place to unwind, celebrate, or just pull up a seat with a good company and a fine cigar? Head to Riverman Cigar Company, located at 8984 Watson Road. They're not just a cigar shop. They're a premium lounge where craftsmanship meets chill. From Padron to AJ Fernandez, the humidor is stocked. The sonic humidifier with reverse osmosis keeps every stick tasting top tier. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned aficionado, they've got events, education, and a cozy spot to kick back. Call 314-843-3355 or check them out online, rivermancigar.com, where quality matters and the vibe's right.
Now, Tom, where does Dan from Riverman Cigar go when he's selling all those cigars at a high price?
Making all the money.
Yeah, making all the money. Where does he go after that?
He should head on out to Avail Professional Services. It's based in St. Louis, but it has reach across Missouri and Illinois. They are experts in tax planning, payroll, bookkeeping, HR support, and they don't stop until you're under control. Whether you're a solo hustler or a growing firm, Avail brings a high-touch service with real-world results. Visit availproserve.com for your free consultation. Avail Professional Services, when every financial detail matters. Go see Dr. Dussold, otherwise known as Marty Bird. Huge supporter of law enforcement. Go see him. Marty.
The Birdman.
Yep.
We beat the streets through hard times.
Welcome back to the Brighter Side of Blue, our worldwide podcast coming to you from Columbo's Cafe and Tavern in Dogtown, St. Louis, home of the famous thin crust, Sebo's Pizza, and daily lunch specials. There's 36 guys up there from the Pipe Fitters Union right now. They came in, I asked them, they came in for today's lunch special, the shaved ribeye with grilled onions and mushrooms. I'm Danny.
I'm Tommy.
I'm JJ.
Producer John.
Producer John in the house. Tommy, we have a hell of a show honoring a family that I think it's unparalleled what they are. The 170 years of service in one immediate family, and then it mushrooms out from there.
Yeah, the Lauer, the legacy of the Lauers. And,
The legacy of the Lauers. That's
and we'll be talking to retired Lieutenant Colonel Ray Lauer, his retired lieutenant son Mike Lauer, and his retired lieutenant son Paul Lauer. And we went through stories of their family, and then they married into other families. There's a lot of stories in there, but they all had training officers that'll be familiar to a lot of the policemen out there, and it was a great conversation with them, and that's what we're going to do every once in a while. We're going to get a family in here and
legacy families.
There's so many of them, and it's just great to hear the stories about their service, and it continues on, and it's got two more sons in there now, so. It's a great conversation. So, and then if you want to get right to that conversation, as always, just look below in the description, and the time frame will be right there. You click it, and you go right to that conversation.
And enjoy that. It was fun to do it. It was good.
Great.
It was good to see them. Mike Lauer was a classmate of mine in class 87-1 of the.
Paul came out to the 3rd District, and I was in the 3rd District with Paul when he came out.
Yes.
Let me say something about Paul. He and I, our offices were right next to each other. He made me feel guilty every day I worked because whenever I work, his door was always open. When I walked by, he was always diligently working on something. That was the hardest working lieutenant.
That's where you got your work ethic?
No, that's where I realized I didn't want to be a traffic lieutenant, that's for sure.
He had a lot of work to do.
Oh, man. He would get called out at all hours of the night for accident reconstruction. Right. I mean, I don't know how he did it for as long as he did it, but he was great at it. And he's
an expert.
Loved it.
When you're in it that long, you become an expert.
And it's funny, just a couple of days ago, he was back at the office. I'm like, what are you doing? You're back. And he was just holding court with all his guys. And I guess they needed a question answered or something, and he came and had to show them something.
If Dan would have been next to you, your office, you would have had 2 offices because Dan would never be there.
You could have knocked out a wall and expanded your office.
Yeah. Well, I took a little bit from both of them. Got the work ethic from Paul, and then how to cut out early from Dan.
Get a little Bigfoot out of Danny. Give me some Bigfoot.
Trust me, I got everything I needed to do done. I just got it done quickly, and then I don't just sit around a desk looking pretty.
Hey, I got to tell,
out of there.
I had somebody this past weekend. I was gone. I saw my nephew play soccer, and I won't get into it long. But after the game, my nephew got a yellow card right out of the box in the second half, and he's just a young freshman, and so they're all coming off the field, and one of their big backs, real big guy, like 6'4", says, "Don't worry, Grasshopper. I always got your back."
Reminded you of me?
Yes. I started laughing. And they're like, "What's so funny?" I go, You wouldn't understand. But Danny Howard says that all the time.
And that's that one
But
time, like
usually-
that one time when you saved him when he was the night chief.
Yeah. Ooh, thank you, Grasshopper.
Yeah, Danny, there was a shooting, all kinds of hell breaking loose. Danny was the night chief, and JJ texted him, and
I called him.
No, you called him.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what's going on? No, what's up? Well, there's this, there's that, there's that. Thank you, Grasshopper.
And I was there.
He was. Ooh, thanks, Grasshopper. Where is that? So I gave the location. He said, oh, thank you. And he left. He got there.
Hold on, we got to talk to one funny story that John brought up last week that we've forgotten to tell. But I used to get so much mileage out of this story. As far as it's just a funny story. Is this kid, he applies for the police department, and when you apply for the police department, you have to supply a picture of yourself. And the picture he supplied for himself was a selfie, out in the neighborhood. And he takes a selfie of himself, and there's, gang members behind him. And, he's just in the neighborhood. And they call him, and they're like, hey, dude, you got to like an official picture of yourself, And he's like, how do I do that? They go, just go down to Walgreens or something and just get your picture taken. Oh, okay. So they send it. He sends the picture back, and he takes a selfie with Walgreens in the back. So the picture had Walgreens in the back, and they're like, "No, dude."
I heard that story. I immediately called Human Resources, and I said, "Is this true?" They go, "Absolutely." It's true." I said,
He did exactly what he was told.
He just sat there. He just took a selfie with the Walgreens sign in the background, and this. He didn't get hired, unfortunately.
I don't know what rank I was, but at one point I was asked to interview potential recruits. So you sit on a panel of 3 people, and potential recruits come in. They want to join the police academy and this and that.
Oral boards.
Oral boards, yeah. And so this cat comes in, and he's wearing a white tank top T-shirt, got shorts on. He's about 6 minutes late. And he walks in past the door, and then he stops, turns around, and spits his chew out, and walks backwards, spits his chew out in a trash can, sits down. He goes, "How y'all doing?" And I go, whoa. I go, "You don't have to sit down." He's like, "What?" I go, "Leave." I go, "This interview is over." "What are you talking about?" I go, "Go by. You can't dress like that." Oh man, he left.
I remember my oral boards when they asked me, "Have you ever smoked weed?" I did the Bill Clinton. I tried it.
I tried it
once.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I tried it this morning in the car.
Do I smell like weed right now?
Yeah, why'd you ask me that? Yeah.
Am I the only guy who gets asked this?
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. I thought about this last night. So I was getting home with the wee hours after working all night. When you guys, if you're coming home or leaving early in the morning, and it's 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, whatever, and there's no one out, and you roll up to electric light, do you stop and wait for it to turn green?
No. If it's 4 in the morning and it's red, I look all ways and I just go. And I think that's fine.
What are you looking for?
If there's anybody
I know,
coming.
no, but really you're looking for police.
No, I'm not. Honest to goodness.
Tap and go. You're tap and go.
I go too. I don't.
I do too. I don't think that's a moral
if you're
issue.
boozing, I would not suggest that.
No,
Well, we
no,
wouldn't
I
be
don't
driving.
booze. Yeah, I Uber
Right.
every time. But
I'm just suggesting it.
But I
haven't seen 4 in the morning in a hot minute.
No, me.
well,
Me neither.
I was coming home at 2:30
You
last
work-
night.
Yeah, you work. You
And,
work.
uh,
You work night.
Yeah, and then it was raining. It was miserable. But I never stop. I mean, I stop, look, like you said. But there are people. I'll roll up, and people are just sitting there. I'm thinking,
I stopped,
Dude,
because
just
I
go.
figure if I go through that red light, then I'm not where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there. So if a meteorite comes down and hits me after I went through the red light, I wasn't supposed to be there.
Is that what you actually think?
Yeah,
that is a
You actually
weird.
think about a
that is
meteorite
crazy.
hitting you?
well,
Yeah,
anything.
Thinks about where he's supposed to be in life.
Yeah, I
Wow.
think
Right now, at that point in his life, he's supposed to be stopped at that fucking red light.
Okay, well then stay there.
Yeah.
Do
You
not.
go around me, man.
I don't want any meteorites hitting
Did you
your
ever
ass.
work night watch?
Yeah, I hated it.
Johnny, you ever work night watch?
Just says relief sergeant, not too long.
JJ?
Nope.
Did you?
Yeah.
I did it for
I did
7
it for a
months.
couple of years.
Oh no, I
Yeah.
hated it.
That wasn't my cup of tea, but I
I
did
didn't
it.
either.
After
did-
I threw that purse away, they
Actually,
demoted
I-
me, so I
yeah.
needed some extra money.
Yeah.
I actually did work night watch. I worked 7 to 7 during the tornado. After the tornado.
Oh, okay.
For like
What
2,
time
3
was your
months.
tough? Did you get some tough hours in there?
Oh, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. For
No, I'm talking about tough hours where like you were struggling.
5 a.m.
Oh,
was my
heck
time.
yeah, dude. I find a spot, dude. I'm like,
Dude.
or then or I'll go sit in the command post and talk to the guys for a while in the command post, but it's rough.
I had my
find it good.
first. I never drank coffee. till I was 25 years old on a night watch.
Yeah, me too.
Rolled into the Jack in the Box at Cherokee and Jefferson. Got a cup of coffee, just took that thing and burnt the shit out of my mouth. Spit it all over the police car. Had to go back around and can I get a thing of ice?
Yeah. No.
And from that point forward, I always put ice in my coffee.
I could not do the night watch. You always talk to the experienced night watch guys. It's the greatest thing in the world. You go home, you sleep a couple hours, and you get all your errands done and this and that, and then you take one more nap, you go in. Never like that.
No,
I always felt groggy. So, hey, listen, listeners, please hit that like, subscribe, and share button. Once again, Grassroots Podcast, Law Enforcement Podcast. We need to keep this momentum going, but hit the like, subscribe, and share, please. JJ, you ready for my day in history? I think
Sure.
I think this is right up your alley. What you're gonna like.
What do you got?
So there was a Japanese lieutenant, Hiru Onada. Okay,
Big O.
during the World War II.
Big O.
The Big O, yeah, Lieutenant O. So Lieutenant O was dropped off with a platoon of guys on an island in the Philippines, and his order was from his major general was to conduct guerrilla warfare and try to take down soldiers around an airport so they can gain access. But they told him to get in the jungle, guerrilla warfare. And it usually was custom for Japanese soldiers, if you get captured and you have a chance, kill yourself.
Right.
This major said to the lieutenant and his crew, no matter what happens, stay in the guerrilla warfare, do not surrender, and do not kill yourself. So this guy, he's a great soldier that he is, he stays in there, boom, boom. Over the course of time, a bunch of his platoon gets killed or captured or whatever, and this and that. It comes down to he's the last one of his group, and he's the lieutenant. And he's in this jungle, and Japan surrenders. And he doesn't believe that they surrendered. He stays in the jungle for 29 years.
Still think it was still going on.
And leaflets were dropped, and he thought they were counterfeit. He thought he didn't believe them. He thought that was
crazy though.
He thought that they were just bullshit.
Big O makes Rambo look like a bitch.
Oh yeah. Rambo's nothing. So listen to this, JJ. So leaflets are coming down. He doesn't believe it. So he stays in the fight, and the war is long over. And
Who's he killing?
Well, unfortunately, he's killing Filipino citizens and a couple Filipino police officers because everybody knew there was this soldier hiding in these. He became famous, and they were scared of him. He hiding in the jungles, and they kept every once in a while they'd go in there. He lived on stolen cattle and coconuts. And so people said, "Hey, my cattle's being stolen." They knew it's the soldier in the jungle. It's Big O.
Big O again.
And so
Big O's a cattle thief.
So JJ, he convinced himself again because in 1 year, I can't know what it was. He was in there in 1944. A military plane is going over, and a bunch of military. He's like, "See, the war is still on." Except that was the Korean War had already started.
So he's back in there.
He thinks he's back in.
Well, he spent like 10 years as a kid playing hide and go seek.
He was never found.
Never found. Quit looking for him.
So they're like, how's this end? And so Japan went back to this at the time. His major general, now he's 84 years old now.
Oh my God!
And they said they found him. He was writing a book, and they said, "Sorry, but we're gonna have to fly you into the jungle for you to give Big O, Lieutenant Big O, another order to stand down and tell him that the war has ended, because he'll only take a direct order from you."
Wow.
They got an 84-year-old retired guy. They flew him in there, and they found him in there. And they said,
Well, this guy's probably in his 70s.
"Yeah, it's over." And so he comes out. So you think this guy living on coconuts and
Is today the day in history that he came out or
came
went
out?
in?
No, he came out.
He came out.
He came
All right.
out, and so he comes out, and
This
so
is like Rambo.
It is 100% like Rambo. He lived in the jungle and was sniping people and killing people. So
And the whole neighborhood's trying to get him out.
Yeah,
Like, come
and
on,
they knew he
John.
was in there. So you
Come on, Big O.
tell your kids not to go in the jungle because Lieutenant Big O's in there, but because he's in there. So they do they come out and they do an assessment of him. So here's the things: 29 years, his rifle is in clean, perfectly oiled, working condition.
How do you keep the oil up?
Coconut.
Oh, wow.
Coconut, a mixture of coconut and leaves or whatever, kept it in perfect order. He had a makeshift toothbrush made out of coconut hairs. He didn't have one cavity. He still had 500 rounds of ammo.
You say he really had many people to shoot, so he's going to.
Yeah. He had 500 rounds of ammo. He had his saber was in perfect working order, and his uniform was, while it was dirty, it was sewn with coconut hair, and it was in solid condition. He comes on out because the 84-year-old major said, "It's time. You can come on out."
How mad do you think he was when he found out?
Those were true. He goes, "Yeah, dude."
I could have been out here 50 years ago. You shitting me?
He went in there in 44 and they surrendered in 45. 29 years of his life thinking the war was still going on.
And never had a woman, company, or nothing.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, he lived on coconuts.
He's probably happier.
Yeah. He had a very peaceful life.
JJ,
Just
watch
kidding.
it.
Just kidding. I'm joking.
Can you believe that?
No.
That we get officers we give an order to. They forget the order from roll call room to the QT.
100%.
They won't listen to us.
Oh, it's
this guy
unreal.
29 years. Anyway, that's my story on the.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, you like that?
I like that a lot.
Like I said, he made Rambo look like a bitch.
He really did.
We need to get a picture of him hanging up.
Tommy is going to put a picture of him on for Monday morning.
Okay, good.
I mean, he's a little guy, comes out smiling. He's like, "Okay, my bad." Killed 30 civilians.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Damn.
Yeah, sorry about that.
How long did he live after he got out?
That's a great question. He lived until he was 91 years old, and when he went back, he was not happy with. He couldn't adapt very well. He moved to Brazil.
Really? Lived in
Yep.
the
He wrote a
jungle?
book. My 29 years in whatever the jungle. He wrote a book, but he died at 91 years old.
Damn.
So that's I didn't-
Sad story, really.
It's kind of a sad story.
Not really.
Not really.
He was a little. He was
Our
a little.
stories go.
He's resourceful. He's a
I've heard
resourceful
that.
fellow.
Can you make alcohol out of coconuts?
I don't know.
What I
I'll look that
understand,
up.
if he didn't see any soldiers for 29 years, like real soldiers,
Yeah.
you think he'd be like, let's check this out.
Maybe they're right. Well, he had a couple guys that were killed.
Yeah, right.
And a couple guys that said, I believe these leaflets. Because they kept dropping leaflets saying, dude, it's over. And a couple guys in the night,
Okay.
they bolted from Lieutenant and said, we believe these leaflets. I think the war is over. And that,
He's a little crazy.
Right. I was just
I
going to
think a
say, he
little-
might have a little mental problem.
I'd say he'd.
Might
I'd say
have
he
a little
would.
mental problem.
Yeah. Yeah, but he thought that was it was the Korean War had started. He stayed in the jungle so long another war started. I don't know,
Wow.
Whatever. Producer John, what are you sitting on over there? You have musings at the microphone?
I got a short one, but I thought it was kind of interesting.
You have musings at the microphone too?
Yes. I'll get to that
Not a
later.
personal question.
That took me a minute to get it. I was like, why is everybody laughing? And I got it.
That was pretty good, Dan.
Thank you. Time for a word from our sponsors, JJ. If you need some serious security, who do you go to?
Personally, I would go when you're looking for real protection, not just a badge on a wall. Make the call to the Campbell Security Group, based right there in St. Louis. They're veteran-owned and powered by former law enforcement and military professionals, from executive protection to private air security. They got your back. Get a peace of mind when it matters most. Visit CampbellSecurityGroup.com or call 314-499-1121. Campbell Security Group, because safeguarding your world requires more than watchful eyes. It demands proven action.
Thank you.
Go jump in the river. Serial killer named Stephen Wayne Anderson.
Okay.
He got executed in 2002, I believe. I think he killed 8 people. He got convicted of 3, but he was out in California and Utah. But the interesting part is he was born in St. Louis and he lived here until he was 18. And his mother was
What high school do you go to?
What parish you grew up
I
in?
don't know. It doesn't say in this article, but his mom was a court clerk in St. Louis, and she got convicted of embezzling money from the court and went to prison. And that's when he and his brother turned into knuckleheads. And his dad was an alcoholic and just kind of emotionally not there. So he ended up they ended up in New Mexico, but he ended up killing one guy in jail and stabbing another. And then they had some kind of a New Mexico and Utah had like a prisoner exchange program or something, and he went to Utah and he escaped from jail out in Utah, and then he went to Vegas and became a hitman. He hooked up with a guy named Ace Fairbanks, which I think is one of the coolest names we've had on the show.
Ace Fairbanks,
And Ace took
pet detective.
took Stephen under his wing, and they killed people who owed the mob money, basically.
Is that considered a serial killer? He's just a bad person.
He's just a hitman. Is a hitman a serial killer?
I don't know.
You tell us, JJ.
Well, you kill more than,
Well, I
if you
think
kill more than a couple people,
right,
you're
4
kind of a
people or
serial
so.
killer.
Right.
But he, so anyway, he ended up in San Quentin. He started, he just locked himself away from the rest of the inmates, but he started writing poetry. He ended up winning several awards for poetry. And he also had an off-Broadway play that was produced based on his life in prison. And actually, they considered giving him clemency because they said him writing all this beautiful poetry was proof that he had rehabilitated. But it went all the way to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court gave him all thumbs down.
They said the poetry wasn't that good, bro.
Yeah, it wasn't that good.
How about Steven Anderson entering the transfer portal in the
Then he just walks away. But they said later that he got they tested him for his IQ before they whacked him, and he was 136 IQ. And
I
then
don't know what that means. What do you think?
like 100's like normal.
What do you think I am, John?
380.
Thank you.
40.
But his last meal consisted of 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, 1 pint of cottage cheese, hominy corn mixture, peach pie, radishes, and a pint of chocolate chip ice cream.
That was his last meal?
That's what he chose.
Yeah.
He is
That verifies that
he's crazy.
In this day and age, do you know if somebody on death row on the day of their death, can they still order their last meal?
Yeah,
Is that still a thing?
Yeah.
What's your last meal?
That's a good question.
Man.
What's the special at Columbo's?
Yeah, shaved beef with grilled mushrooms and
That'll
onions.
be my last meal.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Last
question.
meal, I'd go for something as unhealthy as possible. Not something that just is. I mean, you're gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
Might as well get a couple. I mean, whatever it is that you're down. Big Macs, McDonald's fries. I gotta go. McDonald's fries got to be in there
Steak
Yeah.
and shake double cheeseburger and chili.
On top of it.
with McDonald's fries.
Yeah.
That steak and shake's
They
got
got
skinny
good fries. I like
And
those
they're always
fries.
greasy. I would go with a Big Mac and then a full half gallon of mint chocolate chip ice cream, and just you always feel guilty if you eat too much. I mean, I'm gonna die in an hour. I'd eat, that's what I'd have.
I'm bloated. Who gives a shit?
I'd say, hey, can we
I'm about
hurry
to
this
get
up? I
fried.
feel like shit.
Right.
Let's go.
They're about to unbeloat me.
Yeah, I know this is mundane, but I just get the cake with a file on it. That's my last meal. And I give it my damn
Trying
Always
to
thinking.
make one last escape.
One last.
one last try.
What would you get, JJ?
I don't know. I said steak and shake, but I would have to get a banana split from what's the place by our house?
Dairy Queen?
Dairy
No,
Queen?
no.
Ted Drew's?
Nope.
Riches?
Ted
Riches?
Drew's would be a good one, but
You talking about Riches?
no, the one on Telegraph right there. I go to it all the time.
Yeah.
It's a
Well, this will be about a half hour.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good
I'll
talk.
think
Hey,
about
Jesus.
anyway.
I'll drive down there and get the name for
Yeah,
you.
we'll be right back. Let's just shoot down there and get it.
Wait for. Hey, John, you got yeah.
Oh yes,
They're closed.
Hey, all right, we'll get
Overweiss.
Overweiss.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
there we
Good
go.
call.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's over. They call it overpriced.
Overpriced, right?
Could you imagine though having an appetite when you know that this is your last meal, you're about to die? I mean, I it sounds great. We're gonna say ice cream and all this
You
stuff.
just keep saying, I'm not done eating yet.
Yeah.
You just order
I'm still eating here.
You order just like hundreds of things. You order like 100 Big Macs. You're
I
like,
think that's a
I
weird
ain't done
tradition. I think it's a weird tradition. I don't think that if they're on death row, I don't think they've earned anything to get a fancy ass last meal. I mean,
Nah, just-
stick with the bologna.
I think
let's
they should
go.
just
I don't
kill them
know
in their
that. I
sleep.
wonder how fancy they really let them get. I mean,
Shit.
you can't let them get outrageous. shit,
Yeah, 'cause
you
it's
know?
silly.
I mean, we ain't cooking.
I
We
do.
ain't ordering no chefs.
I think I do
Yeah.
a Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
All the sides.
Besides the turkey. Jesus
I knew I was
Christ.
going to get.
Here we go. He hates
Jeez.
turkey.
I love
Well,
turkey.
turkey would be a perfect last death. You might as well eat turkey and die.
You just got him
You can
going.
replace it with chicken.
Oh
You
my
want-
God.
I like the idea of just ordering like a railroad car full of like ramen noodles. It'd take you like 3 weeks to eat it. Buy you some time.
Here's something else.
Yeah, I still eat ramen noodles. You eat ramen noodles?
I'm not familiar with them, but there's a new Korean restaurant that opened up in the old Mom's Deli, and that's what they specialize. I'm gonna go in there and try.
I
that.
like ramen noodles.
I'm gonna give it a whirl.
You think from college till now, I like them all the time.
I love it.
Grilled cheeses.
No, there's nothing
Still
wrong with
love
that.
me a grilled
I love
cheese.
grilled
Hey,
cheese.
you want to
It's
hear?
simple.
This is a true story. I went to Schnucks yesterday, and they had bologna on sale beef bologna.
Get some?
I bought some.
Did you? I
Go
love
home,
it.
fry that shit.
I haven't
You
fried
went
it
home
yet.
and fried that shit.
Not
didn't
yet. I'm going to.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love fried.
Was that flat hot dogs?
Yes.
Flat-
Yes.
hot dog pancakes.
That was a good buy.
It said all beef, so I figured they have to be somewhat healthy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Guys, I got big news. I forgot to tell you this. Sons of a bitch. So my son-in-law, I told you about the
Mason.
my son-in-law
Huh?
Mason. He his buddy Sam lost the fantasy league.
Oh,
and so he had to do 71 hot dogs and buns before he could do eat anything else. So they were down.
Sam's in the hospital.
Is he on?
They were at the Naples
Where's he
studio.
being laid out?
He's on.
They were at the Naples
He's
studio.
on hockey. He's on hot dog 20 right now. He's still working it.
Oh, okay, JJ, you're close. So he hits hot dog number 21 over 2.5 days, and starts feeling like absolute shit. They're like, and all the boys are like, "Hey, just give in." He goes, "Oh, I'm not going to give in, but
no, fuck
let me just
that.
shoot a call. My friend's a doctor or knows a doctor," and they said, "Here's the conditions. I feel like shit," and they go, "Stop immediately, just stop, just stop."
Can't be punished to death.
And so he had to renege on it. He had to stop at 21.
Wow, that's good. I was just guessing.
Yeah.
Wow.
What? Now, did he just?
So I would
whip the
imagine
bread?
it's extremely unhealthy. For me. I'm just gonna throw it out there. There was that one guy. There was a
McDonald's
movie
guy.
about the McDonald's guy.
Yeah.
They ate nothing but McDonald's.
Yeah.
For,
And if they said
yeah, he
you
almost
wanna-
died.
and he,
He
said,
did?
and if he had, he
Yeah.
did it, and if he said if you wanted supersized him, he'd have to say yes and eat it. If they,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, but
That's crazy.
And that's the name of the movie, was Supersize Me.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Is it really?
yeah. So Sam had to bail out on it.
I don't blame him.
Couldn't pull
That's
through.
unhealthy,
My
man.
favorite supersized story is our buddy Woody was at the McDonald's that's no longer there at Chippewa and whatever, and he's at the desk. He's at the window and somebody's ordering that's behind right on the speaker, and Woody always give me this. Yeah, and go ahead and supersize that motherfucker.
Woody said that.
No, the person did.
Oh, behind you.
Woody laughed his ass off. Hey, go ahead and supersize that motherfucker.
Oh God. Yeah. That's. Hey, so this show is coming out Monday morning.
Yep.
This day in history, the same time Lieutenant Onata came out of the Filipino jungles. But we want all of our listeners, 93.7 million, to also tune in Tuesday morning, Tommy.
Be tomorrow.
Yes.
And what are we going to talk about?
DTF, our separate
Episode 2,
podcast,
baby.
episode 2 of our DTF podcast. Episode 1 was a big hit. We got the attention of some people from the show.
Well, we chimed in. He made a comment.
Yeah.
And, he likes our banter.
Yeah.
You know who you didn't get the attention of?
Who?
Me.
You don't still watch it?
I ain't watching it. No, I haven't watched it.
All right.
I'm not that interested.
Thank you for your support, JJ.
Hey, I watched the podcast. I feel like I know
Kind of
enough.
hurt my feelings. I had to pause.
I feel like I know enough.
Maggie's doing great.
She is.
Yeah, Maggie Hagen's the host of our
Comments.
DTF.
And we appreciate the comments on all the shows, but especially on something like that. You know, if you're gonna, I will say it tomorrow's show too, but like comments on this show, and we like comments on every show. We respond to what we can, if they need response.
Yeah.
But, just throwing your thoughts out there. We appreciate it.
Give it a
And then
look.
follow
I
us
think
on
you'll like
all
it.
of our
If it
social
wasn't for
medias.
Maggie, I wouldn't have watched the podcast.
Yeah, she's very good.
Definitely carrying
she's
you guys.
She's smarter than us, more prepared than us,
Yes.
better
Everything
perspective
better
than
than
us, and this and that. JJ, do you have a Zen for us tonight before
Sure.
we go to the Lauers?
Yes.
Hold on a second.
Hold on. Yeah, we caught John off guard. It only happens every episode.
I forget sometimes.
Come on, don't let the Lauers down with a weak one.
Big pressure.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they should be called the children of God. Matthews, chapter 5, verse 9.
That's very good. That's appropriate for the Lauer family. Very devout.
One more time.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they should be called the children of God.
That's a perfect lead into the Lauers.
100%.
With that, let's bow out of this thing.
He's plagiarizing
We'll see you
the
guys
Bible.
tomorrow,
Peace.
Enjoy the
Plagiarizing the
Lauers.
Bible.
Postal Dave gave me that.
and we'll see you later.
Peace. Welcome back to the brighter side of blue. Our episode tonight is we are a law enforcement podcast that memorializes great police work, history, stories. We support law enforcement. We call out bullshit when we hear bullshit against law enforcement, and we're here to support law enforcement. You can't have a podcast like this unless you, especially in the city of St. Louis, unless you have the Lauer family on, because their lineage of law enforcement service, especially in the city of St. Louis, is it has to be unmatched, Tommy.
It's up there. We'll get into it. It's not just the Lauer family. They married into other families.
It must be a must. There's a creed in the family. You have to.
Right.
That's you. If you're not law enforcement, you cannot have my daughter's hand, my son's hand. That's it. We know it. We're going to expose that tonight.
Right.
So welcome. We have Colonel Ray Lauer, Lieutenant Mike Lauer, retired. Lieutenant Paul Lauer, retired, and Colonel's retired as well. But I always called Paul Pablo for 25 years. I called him Pablo. I don't know why, but welcome and thank you so much for coming to the brighter side of blue. Unbelievable. So, Tommy, you were going to talk about their training officers.
Well, and what I want to say is that a lot of the things that we talk about on this show are family. I mean, we always talk about family. When you talk about family, I mean, there's a lot of names that come to your mind right away. It's, the Lauer family, there's tons of families, the Dudley families. Now, the Lauers had creeped up a little bit further than the Dudleys as far as the promotional ladder. But, and we'll get into some of the other families they've been into. But first of all, like Danny said, I want to welcome you guys all to the show. And I want to play a clip, as you guys know. And speaking of families that are on the police department, the Burgoon family. Yeah. And you came out of the academy with Joe Burgoon, didn't you, Colonel?
I did. We were classmates.
And Tommy Paul went through the police academy with Tom Burgoon. Yeah.
All right. So we got that's pretty cool.
Did you
I did not know that.
Me and Mike were classmates. We were the first all-city class
Yeah.
in 1987. So
Very nice.
So go
Very
ahead.
nice. So then we got a little.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
played sports against Mike when he was at Our Lady of Sorrows,
Oh, yeah.
and I was one of them tall, lanky kids that could motor.
Yeah.
Mike could motor, but he was
He was a soccer player.
He was a fire truck.
He was a soccer player, so he wasn't really an athlete. He
pushed
was
me
a
around
soccer
like I
guy.
was a little, what.
Me and Jim.
Yeah.
But no, I want to play a clip from Joe Burgoon talking about you and Hank Lockeneck back in the day, and then we'll get your side of the version. But he kind of steals your thunder with the ending. But here it goes.
Okay.
Time for a quick word from our sponsors. Remember, listeners, you can go buy a Ford from many places, but when you buy it from Schicker Ford of St. Louis, you get a car and a family. The service after the sale is second to none. They've been huge supporters of law enforcement for over 60 years. You get the same treatment if you visit Schicker Jeep Chrysler Dodge in Washington, Missouri. So,
When you don't want to bicker about the price on the sticker, head on down to Schicker, where you get the best deal quicker.
Now, where the heck do you bring that car when you first get it?
What I would do is you got to unwind afterwards, and whenever you want to unwind after a shift, buying a car, or just a good night out, you head to Columbo's Cafe and Tavern in Dogtown, St. Louis, where craft brews are on tap. Solid pub grub, a vibe that says real people, real stories, near the heart of St. Louis. Bring your squad or just bring your appetite. Located on Manchester in historic Dogtown, Columbo's is where community roots meet good times. Visit columbosstl.com or drop in tonight. Tell them the brighter side of blue sent you. Columbo's, for people who work hard and play harder.
They were in a spree. About a week or so later, I had a hold-up alarm went off over at Grand North Market. It's an old Roebuck liquor store. We were, like I said, we were in mobile reserve. They responded. Hank had a shotgun when they went in there, and they had a gun battle. Hank killed the one guy. The other guy shot his hand up real bad. He gave up then, and then they started working and finding all the other stuff they were doing, robbing this and that. He got the gas chamber.
Wow.
Yeah, totally responded there.
So he stole the ending. But tell us a little bit about that, and tell us a little bit about your and Hank's partnership.
Well, I graduated from the academy and ended up with Hank as my training officer, which is the greatest thing that ever happened to me as far as my training effort. Several months after that, we were at roll call one night. There were 6 squads in mobile reserve at that time. 2 of us on certain days had to leave early to go to work out at Forest Park the next day. So 7 o'clock, we were supposed to leave at 11 that night to get up the next morning. We entered, as we left roll call, the lieutenant stopped both of us and said, "You guys have not written a summons in a long time." Neither Hank nor I appreciated having to do that. So he said, "I want a summons from both of you before you go home tonight." So we go out, we're in what was the 9th district at the time, and we stopped a couple of cars, and finally some woman ran a red light, and I stopped. She cried as I'm writing her a summons, made me feel bad. So then we said to Hank, hey, we got to get a summons for you. So we went up, we were Grand and Cass, and a tractor trailer driver drove right through the red light. I said, Hank, there's your summons. He said, I don't give a truck driver a summons. Well, let's wait for the next one. Well, the next one never came through because shortly after that, the call came out for a hold-up alarm sounding at the liquor store just 2 blocks away. If Hank had been giving the summons to the truck driver, we would have never heard the call. But we were the first car on the scene. Hank grabbed a shotgun. We went in. They were locked in the store. They couldn't get out the back door, 2 guys. And they started shooting. One went past my right shoulder, one past my left shoulder from the guy's pistol. Hank ran in with the shotgun. The guy was in the back. He pulled up the pistol, and Hank shot and killed him. And then the incident was over. The other guy that was shooting, he ended up giving up the pistol. We handcuffed him, and he ended up being arrested, and he was the last guy that gets killed or put to death after he got convicted in the gas chamber in Missouri. But we found out that through investigation they had already killed 3 people in 2 weeks before that. So that's what he was tried on, for assaulting us, but also for the 3 murders.
And got the gas chamber.
Now, you guys were in the paper and everything about this. Was a pretty big deal. Where did they kill the other 3 people? Was it in St. Louis or was it in another state?
No, they were all in St. Louis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. One was in the West End of the grocery store owner up on Page, I think it was, and then 2 other people. But they were all in the city within several weeks' time. But in addition to that, those 3 murders, they probably cleaned up maybe 50 or 60 crimes that they had committed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, did I remember Tony Locknick, Hank's son, and we'll talk a little bit about the Locknicks later, was telling me that there was that your supervisor was very protective of your great arrest and was like, don't let. Was there part of the story about that?
Yeah, well, when somebody wanted to take us downtown, and the supervisor, Sergeant Bob Nesky, said nobody is taking anybody except these 2 guys. So they put Hank and I and our prisoner in a car, and we drove downtown. Nobody else got claimed for it that way. So, and when we got to headquarters, for some reason, the chief of detectives was waiting for us in the lobby. I don't know how he got down there so quickly, but we got taken up to the chief's office, and we kept our prisoner with us all night, and the next morning, and the next day, and the next day. So,
wow, that's awesome.
Who was the chief of detectives? Do you remember?
Shay. Chief.
Remember
Shay.
him, Danny?
No.
Yeah, exactly. that's why I was.
Well, I am a connoisseur of the history of the police
Yeah,
department.
I got you.
You with me?
But let's keep with the training officer and then theory. So, Mike, you come out when?
I graduated from the academy in April of 1988.
And your training officer was quite the policeman himself. So tell us a little bit about your training officer.
My training officer was police officer at the time, Ed Kuntz.
Okay.
And Ed was one of the best police officers I have ever worked around, one of the smartest people I've ever been affiliated with.
He knows like 14 languages, doesn't he?
Yeah, he would, yes. He speaks like 7, I believe.
Yeah.
One of them being Arabic.
Yeah. Well, that's an easy one.
And Ed and I were actually partners in internal affairs, and we were working a case one time where we were protecting somebody who needed protection because of an incident that occurred with a police officer, and he would spend the evening reading language books, trying to learn an additional language, while we were sitting in a car in front of an apartment up in North County.
He would have had a heyday with Rosetta Stone.
Yeah, he probably
was
should have
Rosetta
developed
Stone.
it. Yeah.
Oh, Rosetta Stone. Well, real quick, now we'll go to Paul. Paul, when did you come on?
I graduated the academy in December of 1990.
And who was your training officer?
My training officer was Joe Fredericks.
An absolute legend of the 3rd District. But
Yes.
tell us a little bit about Joe.
And so Joe was known back then. Of course, now we're so shorthanded, a lot of people make a lot of overtime. But back then, he was known for being the officer on the police department that made the most overtime of anybody. And he was just a go-getter. He never slowed down. He probably when he was training me, he might have had 20 years on or so, and he just every day was go, go, go.
And Joe was was a former FBI agent, correct?
Yes, he
And,
he left to go to the FBI, and got assigned to I believe New York, and wasn't happy there, and came back to St. Louis and joined the police department again.
It just shows you that some people are just made to be policemen.
Oh,
He was offered to be a detective numerous times, I believe. He just wanted to be on.
He didn't want to take the
Just
pay
wanted to
cut.
be right.
And I want to say he made more money than chief.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Anybody-
easily.
He made more as far as overtime goes.
Tommy, I'm going to back up to Mike. So I would have been the youngest guy on the police department. My birthday is November 29th, and our first day was December 7th. So I was 8 days 21. You turned 21 in the academy,
No.
correct?
I was born, if your birthday's the 29th, I
Yeah.
was born a week before you. My birthday's
So he's
November
still younger
22nd.
than
November 22nd.
Oh,
yeah.
older.
Yeah. So I was the youngest guy then.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
At one point, I was the
8 days.
youngest.
I turned 21 8 days after we got in the academy.
we started
8
December
days
7th
before.
yeah.
8 days before.
Yeah. You were the youngest.
So my whole point was a mess, though, right there.
Right.
I butchered that up like a butcher shop. Yeah, unbelievable. 3 FBI Academy graduates right here.
Yes.
Did you know that? All
And I'm
3
going
of
to
them.
get back to Joe Fredericks real quick. How many cans of tuna you think he ate?
Oh, my God,
in the
every
90
day.
days- in the 90 days you were on, how many cans
Every
of tuna?
single day I worked with him, he had a can of tuna, an apple, and an orange.
An inordinate amount of tuna.
Yes.
I mean, every time you seen it, I mean, he
Was that his
brought
only
lunch.
meal? Was that his only meal?
No, he only stopped at really I think 2 places. He liked to go to they had a Wendy's that was at Grand and Gravois, and they had that super bar, the salad bar.
Oh
type
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
He would eat there, and then there was a place down at 7th and Carroll. I think it was called Chris's, that he would go into. That it's kind of like a buffet line you'd walk through.
Unbelievable.
I just ran into him just a couple of months ago at the Walgreens.
Cool. How's he doing?
He's doing good. I was standing at the checkout, and I hear somebody say, "I trained that guy 40 years ago." It wasn't. It was 35 years ago, but he was. And I look over, it's Joe Fredericks. I couldn't believe it. So we chit chatted for a little while.
That's cool.
Was he buying tuna?
Right.
Yeah, you got that big stack of
Wouldn't
tuna,
surprise
that 10
Turn your
cans
mic
in the
up, Jeff.
wrapper.
Sticking with Paul, you spent 27 years in the traffic safety division,
Yes.
which has to also be a record. But Lieutenant Joyner is out in the crowd because we didn't have room at the table. He has a adversity to the zipper merge on highways. He doesn't believe in them. He doesn't believe they're effective or they're a proper thing. You're the expert. What do you think about the zipper merge?
I mean, I think it has some merit to it, but nobody will ever learn how to do it.
Or the roundabouts? Nobody knows how to do it.
I'm after-
JJ
yes.
said that.
JJ's out there.
JJ's
clapping.
out.
Yeah, the roundabouts, when they put that in at Hampton and Wells over by the zoo.
Yeah.
We fought against that. In fact, Mike Seamers, that was lieutenant in traffic,
Yeah.
boss back when I was a sergeant. We went to a meeting, and he was totally against that, and they didn't listen to anybody.
How's it working out? Honestly, I don't even know. How's it the roundabout working out?
Another thing where if, in a perfect world, if everybody understood how to do it, it would work, but not in St. Louis.
Not
Everybody's Chevy chasing vacation. Can't get right. The Riverview Circle is the best. That's just this epicenter of just downright tomfoolery
Shenanigans
everywhere.
So we did some ciphering before we started the podcast. We're up to, in your immediate family, 170 years of police service. 170 years. That also has to be a record.
Millions.
Colonel, can you think of any other family that has that lineage on the job?
No, not at all. I mean, my wife worked there for 4 years. Her dad was there for 30-some years. And the rest of us are all police officers. No, I don't know of anybody that
Well-
matches that.
Just as carry on, Mike, you married into a family. What police family did you marry into?
My wife's maiden name was Warninger.
Okay, and then give us a little bit of. I mean, you got Drew.
Drew was on the police department. Her mom was a clerk in South Patrol in the police department for a long period of time. Her dad, I think he served 28 years on the police department. And then her uncle is Walter Collier, who did 35 plus years on the police department. And then Andy Collier is her first cousin. He did 20.
And then, Paul, you married into the
King family, and my father-in-law was a police officer, worked with me in traffic safety, in fact.
Did you ever become his boss?
I was his boss for a while. I was a sergeant. He was a patrolman in
That's good.
traffic.
Nice.
And he did 35 years, and then his son, Jeff, started off with the St. Louis Police Department. I believe he did 7 years there, and then he left and went to work for Maryland Heights.
Okay.
He's still on there, and I believe he's got a total of 30 years of service.
And then there's more offspring, but we'll just settle it there.
Well, except I want one. Who would be best to tell the story about the Colonel's great-grandfather? Who knows that's Michael
Yeah,
McMahon.
probably me, Michael McMahon. And
Did you hear this?
Yeah.
So we
Royalty.
My brother Matt is really into ancestry and was looking up our family tree, and we found out that my dad's great grandfather had a son, right? Or he was related to the McMahon family, and the McMahon family was from Ireland. They were in the county of Armagh. They were a baron. He was a baron, and his dad was in the Parliament, Irish Parliament.
Thought he was going to say he was a duke.
No, and but they had a castle, and it was called the McMahon Castle in the county of Armagh. And he came to the United States, and because in order to be able to secure the heritage and to get that passed on to the family, they had to commit to and profess their loyalty to their British crown. And he said, "I'm not doing it." And he left and came to the United States. Came to St. Louis immediately, was in the Civil War, served on the Confederate side. And then after that, him and other group of people went and tried to take over Canada away from Britain. And then when that failed, he went back to Ireland.
That's kind of a large task.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you guys doing today? We're going to run over,
wanted to take over the island.
Canada.
He came back to the United States in 1874 and joined the St. Louis Police Department and served in the police department until his death in 1904. And I think he was on mounted patrol because the story at his death was that he wanted to die with the reins in his hand. So we assumed he was on mounted patrol. And there was a quote in the paper that my brother found that said that he was the most interesting man in the state and maybe in the country. And we don't know why.
So he was the most interesting man before the dude that's the most interesting man now.
Yeah.
What beer does he sell?
The beer commercial?
Yeah.
What is that?
What beer is that? What beer is the most interesting man in the world sell?
Corona? No, not Corona.
Dos
Equis. Dos
I
Equis.
don't always drink beer, but when I do, it's Dos Equis.
Yeah. So from 1874 to 1904.
Yes.
So
This is going back. This is even getting weirder. This is great.
that is crazy.
But like you were mentioning earlier, all three of you graduated from the FBI Academy, which, as far as law enforcement, for those not in law enforcement, that's probably one of the most prestigious things. I mean, again, I know we all don't love the FBI, but it is one of the most prestigious academies, and from everybody I talk to, just a great experience. Colonel, tell us about it back in the day, how you got in it and what it was about.
Well, the interesting thing is, I think we're the only father and two sons that were allowed to go
have to
there.
be.
And
have to.
how I got there, I was in the office one day. I had the watchman division, and Larry Akeley, who was the chief camp's aide, called and said, "Hey, the chief wants to see you." So I went up. He had all kinds of things spread around his desk all the time. But anyway, I said, "Chief, you're looking for me?" He said, "Yeah." He looked around, he gave me an envelope and says, "Fill this out." I said, "Okay, what should I do?" He said, "You're going to the FBI Academy." We had Mike, Paul, and Kathy, who was just a year and a half old. And I didn't have any secondary. Bev didn't work, but anyway, I went to the academy. And it was a very good experience. I went longer than these two guys because they've shortened the time by a couple of weeks. But I was just telling my wife the other night that when I went up there, we didn't have no thing such as a cell phone in your pocket.
No.
Yeah, so I would make arrangements with her every weekend on Saturday to call her. I'd have to go get a bunch of quarters, used a slot machine, the telephone at the end of the hall. And when I was finished, there were 2 or 3 people waiting behind me so they could get to the phone. And that's how we communicated.
What year was that?
75.
75, yeah.
Now, what rank were you at that time?
I was a lieutenant.
Now, for those
No,
people
I was a sergeant still.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you got.
Nowadays, you can't go there as a sergeant. But yeah, I was a sergeant.
right?
Now you have to be a lieutenant. I went as a sergeant as well.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, they changed it after many years after I graduated.
Well, how was your experience there, Mike, as a sergeant?
So one thing about when he went, my mom and dad created a chain of paper clips, and it had the exact number of days that he was in the FBI Academy. And every night before we would go to bed, we would remove one paper clip so that we knew when it was
he'd
closer,
come home.
because he didn't come home at all when he went. My dad went in 1975. I went in 1996. So 21 years after he went. Paul went exactly 21 years after I went. You went for 12 weeks. I went for 11. Paul went for 10. But it is the greatest experience that you could. It's like going away to college with money.
11 weeks. Do you come home?
I was able to come home a couple times. I came home 3 times while we were there.
Paul, did you come home?
I came home twice.
Okay. In 10 weeks? Yeah. Now, did your families go up there? Were they accommodating to
At
the
the
families when they
graduation.
came up there?
They came up for graduation. So I was similar. When I went through the academy, my oldest daughter was 3.5. My son was 5 months old. But it was very beneficial because my mom had been through it. So she took care of Chris and the kids because and that's what we did.
She's been there, done it.
Yeah.
That's what, well, I was going to say that the colonel was known as Colonel at work. But when he was not at work, I think he was known as Ray and Bev.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
he wasn't known as Ray, he was known as Ray and Bev because they were together all the time.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the other thing I wanted to get into is, Colonel, you were the head of the Pope visit. You put that whole detail together. Give us a little back. I mean, what goes in to the Pope's coming in. Hey, Ray, or hey, Colonel, you got this. Who assigned it to you? I believe Henderson was the chief. Chief Ron Henderson.
I believe so. I'm not sure, but I didn't have the whole. I just had the Archbishop's residence in the cathedral,
Okay.
and then somebody had downtown where he went for the convention center. But it was interesting. We had he came to us. He was pretty ill at the time.
Really?
And, yeah, he was bent over and had a lot of health issues. He had been in Mexico. They flew here, and in fact, when he was ready to leave that morning, he got in the car. They got halfway to the airport, and he said, "I got to go back to the rectory," and he did. They came back, and then we got him fixed. That way, the doctors did, and then he took off. But it was an interesting time.
1999, wasn't it?
Right around.
Yeah, I believe so.
Now, does he have the president has the Secret Service. Does the Pope have his own Secret Service?
Well, he does in Rome, but he didn't here. But
So you guys took care of him.
Yeah, we took care of him.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I remember that thing because they blew that thing out of the water, and they were telling people that they were setting perimeters up, and I think they scared people so bad.
Yeah.
That it was basically enough.
So they didn't go.
And then the Pope. I mean, that Pope mobile, I don't know how fast it goes, but however fast it goes, that's how fast they were going down.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can hey, Pope, I see you later, man. They were going.
They had a prayer service in the cathedral, and people that we knew called and said, "Can I get to the cathedral?" Because it was locked off downstairs. So we got, I don't know how many people I got into the choir loft upstairs. And the pastor came up that day and he said, "Who put all these people in here?" I don't know how they got up here.
They all had Lauer badges
I
on.
probably put by 30 or 40 people up there that were friends of ours, just to crowd it into the church a little bit. But it was interesting.
Amazing. So one of our goals as the podcast is, amongst talking good about the police and supporting the police and everything that they do, is also to hopefully increase recruitment. So as we sit here, Mike, you left the police department after 21 years, right? 20 or 21?
Exactly 20.
Okay, so tell us about that decision, and then finish by saying the decision when your son decided he wanted to join the police department. Now, he's with St. Louis County.
Yes.
But I just want to know the decision to leave the police department and how that went down.
Yeah, because at the time I was a lieutenant, I was a commander of homicide. So I had my dream job. And I had no intention of leaving. If I started the police department when I was 19 because I did 2 years as a civilian. Our dad did 46 years on the department, and that was my plan. I planned on doing 46 years. The right job offer came around at the right time. It was September. I was retired. I could retire in December, 20 years on. Somebody came to me in September and said, "Hey, when can you retire?" And I said, "Well, I could really retire in December." He's like, "Well, I have a job that I think you'd be interested in if you want to apply for it." And it was be the director of public safety at St. Louis University. One of the benefits of being an employee of St. Louis University is that your children's education is paid for. So you could go to any Jesuit school essentially for free. So that was one of the things that kind of made me think about maybe I need to do something for my family.
Think a little harder.
Yeah.
Think a little harder.
And I had a conversation with my dad and told him what the opportunities were, and he didn't discourage me from not going. Mocha was the chief at the time. I remember having to go up and have a conversation with him and letting him know what I was going to do. And I was with SLU for 2.5 years, and then it was an interesting place to work. BJC came along, and I've been with BJC for 15 years.
Right. Do you find that being a policeman really helped you in the real world as far as just some of the stuff because I know it's two different worlds. The police and the real world. I always call it the real world and the police department.
Yeah.
You know.
What helped me was, and Dan went through the same thing. We were both commanders of communications when we were on the department as lieutenants, and managing 119 civilian employees was a really good way to learn how to manage the business outside of the police department. Being in healthcare for 15 years, your podcast is called The Brighter Side of Blue, and I think that most people that want to wear the blue, the brighter side is that we did it because we wanted to help people.
Yes.
And in healthcare, every day we're taking care of somebody who's sick, or their family members are there to take care of people who are sick, and so it's a very fulfilling job to work in healthcare.
And similar to, I would imagine that emotion plays a lot in police work. Emotion, you show up on a call. There's emotion involved. Somebody's mad at somebody else, and then they might get you mad. Where in healthcare, I think there's a lot of that too, where there's a lot of emotion involved. Whether sometimes it's wonderful, sometimes it can be bad. Correct?
Yeah, and the work that our public safety teams do in healthcare is very similar. I tell them all the time, what you're doing is police work. You're just doing it in a different environment.
Yeah.
Because there is the anger. I mean, and there's the people that it's a gratifying job at times, but at times, we've all seen the emergency room shenanigans that have gone on. Over there.
Oh yeah. So then Zach comes to you and says, "I want to be the police."
Yeah. So Zach was, I think he was 21, and he came to me and Chris. And Chris, my wife of 37 years, grew up in a police family, so she's used to being a police wife, being a police sister. And he came and said, "You know what, I want to be a police officer." And at the time, Circuit Attorney's Office was a little bit different than it is today. The riot, there was a lot of rioting going on in downtown St. Louis that was impacting our community. And she's like, my wife said, "I can do this, but I really wish you would go to the St. Louis County Police Department."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So
And then Paul,
Yep.
your son
came on.
Your
How'd
son
that
comes
go?
to you. How'd that conversation go?
Well, he started off in the Police Explorers.
Yeah.
He was 12 or 13 years old, and then he became a cadet with St. Louis City Police Department. So he had been around the City Police Department, obviously with the family, but then also his own experiences through the Explorers and the cadets. So when, we had always told him, don't feel like you have to join the police department. And if you do, don't feel like you have to join the city. You've got all kinds of options. But he's like, no, I really enjoy working for the St. Louis Police Department. That's where I'd like to work. So he's continuing on the legacy within that department.
And how long's he been on?
It's been a little bit over 6 months. He came on in July.
So you recently retired. When? What date? What official date?
It was January 24th.
So just about a month ago. and your son gave you your final send-off on a all-points bulletin, and made you 68, which is deadheaded, permanently.
Right.
And I'm watching it on Facebook, and I'm watching you. I'm tearing up.
Yeah, you're
and,
crying.
I'm thinking, if this was my son, I'd be crying. And I looked at you, and you were just kind of stoic. And
Does that surprise you with Paul?
well, that was pretty cool.
That was.
Really
Talk
cool.
a little bit about it.
That was emotional. I don't show my emotions that well. But yeah, that was a very proud moment for me because not only was he there to do that for me, that's a big thing at your final roll call. That's the last part of your final roll call is they make that announcement over the radio. But to have him do that for me, and to know that he's going to be carrying on the legacy within the St. Louis City Police Department, very proud moment.
That's cool.
Very proud.
But I think your maybe I'll call it a little callousness may have come from how many years in the accident reconstruction crew?
Just about almost the entire time I was in traffic safety, about 27 years, so probably 26 years or so. I got trained about a year after I came to traffic, went through the accident reconstruction school, and then started. We handle all fatalities within the city of St. Louis. No matter what time it comes out, if it's coming out, usually it's 2 or 3 in the morning, or if it comes out at 2 in the afternoon, whatever it comes out, we get called out, almost like homicide. We take over any case that involves a fatality.
And everybody's familiar with the accident reconstruction crew because you always hear on the news, the accident reconstruction crew's on the scene.
And so
that means there's been a fatality. Now, how many of those you think? Just take a rough guess. How many fatality accidents have you handled in them 27 years?
And I think they looked up the number from my roll call, but 400 or more call-outs probably have been on it over that time.
And you told me, I was talking with him earlier before the show, and I said, did you do the notifications? And he said when you started out in traffic as a patrolman, that was one of your things, is that you would go to these families and you kind of got used to it. But you said your hardest one was recently, and you've only done one as a commander. Talk a little bit about that.
Right, that was the day that Officer David Lee was killed. He was a traffic safety officer. He was out on the highway assisting a motorist that had been involved in an accident during the rain, and a intoxicated driver lost control and crashed into him, and unfortunately he didn't make it. And I had to go out to his wife's house to make the notification. It just so happened that my wife Julie was with me in the car when that occurred, and she went out there with me. She's a school teacher, and because the David Lee's daughter was at home too, and when they heard he'd been in an accident and it was pretty bad, my wife just talked to the daughter, kind of got her calmed down because she was very upset about it. But that was one of the
Your hardest one out of the
Yes.
400. That was your hardest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
Because it's somebody and it's you're going to tell their family. Most of these cases, you didn't know the victim at all. So it's still hard telling the family, but you really didn't know. So it's just another person that you're talking to. This one, really hit home.
Well, I couldn't imagine doing. I was telling Danny, we were talking about it. I only had one call that somebody perished in an auto accident, and it was pretty simple. Where somebody was parked on Russell down in Soulard, and they were just pulling away from the curb. Well, they pulled right in front of somebody that was doing the speed limit. That wasn't drunk, and hit her right in the door. And she was like 30 years old, beautiful gal. And it just hit you hard, and that was the first time I ever done that. And I mean, God love you for doing that. And
Paul, so 27 years there and handling all those, and Michael the same way in homicide. Does the police department have any mechanism to help with that? I mean, or are we just? I guess what I'm saying is you have to inherit each one of those fatalities. You have to see it, handle it, make notifications, and there's no way on earth it doesn't come inside you a little bit. Does the police department offer anything for that?
They do now, and they had it before, and that's a shame. I guess nobody really thought about it because you're a police officer. You're tough. You can handle it.
Right.
But especially when Officer David Lee was killed, it was tough because not only was he a coworker with us, but we had to go out and handle the fatality
Right.
that involving him. So they do have a crisis intervention team that came in, and they actually brought in some people from St. Louis County also and from Barnes Hospital, some social workers to talk to all of us and kind of help us get through it. And I thought it was very nice that they did that, and it did really help us think about things and kind of take a breather and just understand that these things happen and we need to be there for each other.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So now we're gonna circle back to the first story, which was the colonel and his training officer Hank Lockenick doing some tremendous police work. But unfortunately, you guys were partners, and something happened along the way. Can you just talk a little bit about your relationship with Hank and further with the Lockenicks?
Well, we got along very well with their family, and they with our family also. It was a great thing that I was assigned to work with Hank. He was an outstanding fellow. What really hurt was my dad worked part-time for Kuda's Funeral Home, and one Sunday night he called, said, "Hey, he was at work at their chapel down on Gravois." He said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I got a phone call that they're bringing a body in from out in the county, somewhere out in the state, rather." I said, "Well, what's the issue?" He said, "Well, it's Hank Lockenick. Hank had died." Well, Tony can tell you all about it, but Hank had died when he was with his family suddenly, and that was a very difficult thing. The interesting thing was when they had the wake at the funeral home, my wife and I were there, and the police board commissioner at the time came in and visited at the casket, and pretty soon I see Hank's wife Mary Ann say, "Come here." So I get up and walk up there, and the commissioner said, "Hey, anything I can do for you, you let me know." She said, "I want him promoted to sergeant." 2 weeks later, I was a sergeant. It was just there were so many things in our family that were outstanding, good and bad news. But I mean, look where I was able to start, and look what I ended up doing. It was kind of neat. When I started, I graduated from high school in 1956. My parents couldn't afford to send me to college, so I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I needed to get a job, and I was at the Andrews High School. They had a career night, so I'm walking around, and there were two policemen who didn't want to be there really, but they're in there. So I talked to them. I said, "Hey, you got any jobs in the police department?" They said, "Can you type?" I said, "Yeah, I took 2 years of typing. Get downtown. We need clerks. Go down and apply." So I did, and my dad at the time knew a sergeant by the name of Gene Camp, who used to buy meat from the company where my dad worked. Anyway, got introduced to him. He started the whole thing, and look where I ended up.
Amazing.
Just amazing.
So Hank had some young children at the time that he passed away.
Yeah.
And they've been on the two of them have been on the show, Tony and Timmy Lockenick. And you took them, you were and the sister. What was
Karen.
Karen.
Yeah.
You kind of took them on as a stepfather. And Bev and their mother were tremendous friends.
Yeah.
And you had to take care of them. Talk a little bit about those guys.
Well, we used to go out to their house once in a while, and their mother would say, "Hey, you have to straighten these two kids out for me." So I'd take them downstairs, have a little discussion, and I think they'd straighten out. I'm not sure, but I think they did pretty good. But we were very close.
Here, and Danny brought
it's
this
questionable.
Up. Danny brought this up, is that you have two sons to your right and left that they kept their mouths shut. They were professional all the time. Did what they were supposed to do. And then you got the two Lockenick brothers who you raised.
Yeah.
They were just a completely contrast to your sons. And how did that happen? How did you let that happen?
Well, we just had to go out and help Mary Ann because they were kind of nasty at times. Those two kids were.
God. Yeah. Well, you didn't cure that.
No, I didn't. Yeah, they're still like that.
They're still like that.
Every once in a while, the phone would ring and you would answer, and it would be one of the Lockenicks that would be on the phone because they were in trouble and they needed
They were
help.
like brothers to you guys, though, weren't they?
Yeah, Timmy was the best man at my wedding. Tony was in my wedding. I was in Tony's wedding, and Karen was supposed to be in our wedding, and was pregnant and gave birth to their youngest daughter the day that Chris and I were married. So we've been married 37 years. So every year, Corey, their youngest daughter, I text her happy birthday and she replies happy anniversary.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
That's a good memory or a good way to remember stuff.
Yeah.
I've been in trouble a couple times.
So Tony Lochnick, I was fortunate enough to have him. I was a major in South Patrol and have him as my detective sergeant. And when I first got promoted, and there was a time I went back into his office and he had his feet up on the desk and he said, "Hey, Mage, what's up?" And a lot of times when a major or commander walks in, you pull your feet off and you kind of sit up a little straight. Lochnick leaned back further, put his feet back deeper on the desk.
Take his shoes off.
He might even took his shoes off. He goes, "Hey, what's up, Mage?" And I said, "Hey, listen, I was thinking about maybe we put this together to address these burglaries." And he goes, nah. And I'm like, "Well, it was only a thought anyway. Sorry to bother you. I got the fuck out of there." But they were derelicts, both of them.
I hear them laughing. I think.
Hey, Tony, you want to come up? Tony, talk on your mic real quick.
Where's Tony? Tony,
Tony, you got
defend
anything
yourself.
to say to the colonel and his sons?
No, I mean, you're right.
You're right. He said you're right. Well,
Yeah, that's amazing.
No, but Tony and Timmy and they always talked highly of the Lauers, and obviously that's because they needed the Lauers to stay out of trouble. They were great policemen, but they needed help. Correct?
Yeah.
Would you say that's correct too, Tony?
Not all.
Not all the time.
Tommy, before we wrap up, back to the colonel. So you have to tell me, talk about the pride of yourself and your wife, Bev, as you look back on your career, all your children's career, the family career, and sitting at Christmas at the Lauer family, beaming with pride. Just talk a little bit about that.
Well, we're very fortunate. When Mike was born, Bev was still working at the police department as secretary, and she said, "Would you mind if I not working anymore and stay home and raise the kids?" I said, "We can work that out. I'll do some secondary, whatever it is, but that works out great," and it did. So now when we're together at Christmas time, it's an amazing thing. I mean, the whole family gets together. The kids take turns and they pull a piece of paper out to see who's going to give a gift to another one, and they do that at the house. And we do it at Matt and Tracy's house, which is up the street from us. But it's just a great thing to be together, to have the family the way they are, and just have a lot of fun. A few drinks maybe, but other than that, it's good.
Now, when you guys sit around, so you did 30, Paul did 35, Colonel, you did 40?
46.
46 with the civilian time. Do you guys consider Mike a quitter? Do you guys give him a little dig to Christmas? Like, oh, whatever, quitter.
Oh, that's a little harsh, Mike. I'm sorry. And when they come in for Christmas, where does everybody put their off-duty guns? Is there like a house? Is there like a box in the Lauer family? Everybody's like puts their pistols in there. It's like
Clink,
40 pistols. Clink, clink. Yeah, unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah. Before we get wrapped up, is there anything that you guys could add that we missed, or something about the police career? And would you do it again?
I would. I'll start, and I'll go.
Yeah,
to you.
I would. I would.
Yeah, I miss the people, and I laughed for 20 years. I laughed every day. I had some great people that I worked with that were partners that made the job fun, and I truly loved my 22 years on the department as civilian and commissioned.
I was very fortunate when I started as a clerk. Some guy by the name of Bob Sheets was a detective in the 12th district. I worked in the 11th. We didn't have any detectives, but the 12th district detectives came over, and so that's how I got to meet Bob Sheets. Later on, he became chief, and he called me and said, "I want you as my aide." And I was a lieutenant in the 3rd district at the time. Pretty soon, I was working in his office. Pardon me, he got me promoted, lieutenant colonel. I mean, we've been so fortunate in all the things that we've had in life.
Yes. Pablo?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to traffic safety. As you can tell, my dad didn't enjoy it at all. Didn't even get him to write one ticket, barely. But somehow, I really got into traffic safety, and my career, probably if I hadn't been able to do traffic safety as long as I did, I might have been like Mike and left early. But Every chief that I've worked for has allowed me to stay in that unit, and as a patrolman, a sergeant, and as a lieutenant, to be able to work traffic safety. And I think being able to work traffic safety, trying to reduce crashes, and also having to investigate fatalities, that mixture, just kind of made my job, being able to do that, trying to keep the public safety, very enjoyable. And to be able to do that for so long made my time on the police department go by so quick.
Now, are you totally retired now, or are you going to get into something else?
I am totally retired right now. I think we're taking a little vacation with the family next month, and probably after that I may look for something.
I got to think with your accident. I would
insurance.
imagine you're considered an expert in accident reconstruction. Do insurance companies like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
That's where we're
We'll
going
just
with
leave it
this.
at that.
Yes.
Leave it at that.
Yes, I couldn't be prouder to have you guys on the show.
was
I
great.
mean, can't have a show
Actually,
without
who's
honoring you
Joshua?
guys.
Do what?
Who's Joshua to your family? Is there a Joshua?
Yeah, there's Josh Newhouse.
Josh.
Is Greg and Kathy's son.
I'll let you know that he made a comment to us on Facebook.
About?
You need to. I mean, would the Lauer legacy be interesting? And we were in Florida at the time. And I go, hey, Danny, call Mike.
Yeah,
Let's
you
get
did,
him on the
yeah.
show because it was a great idea.
Yeah.
What is it? About 1 billion years of service between the whole family.
Yeah.
I still want to. I think what we need to do is do some investigation. You need to send your son to the ancestry guy, and
Yeah.
let's figure out how much money the Lauers have made in the city of St. Louis. What do you think? Put him on that one. That's your assignment.
Billions.
Hundreds.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on. We really
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Paul.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
Good.